My child, give me your full attention for this moment. I am not calling you closer to frighten you or to announce disaster. I am asking you to become still because you have lived too long beneath a false conclusion about me. You have believed that your struggle must mean I am disappointed in you. Hear my answer plainly. I am pleased that you continue to turn toward me with honesty. I am pleased when your prayer is simple, your strength is limited, and you still choose truth over despair. I am not praising an image you maintain for others. I am speaking to the person beneath the effort. Do not mistake exhaustion for failure. A difficult day does not cancel your faith, and a shaken voice does not make an honest prayer weak. You do not have to impress me with calm words, while fear is pressing hard against your thoughts. Bring me the fear without decorating it. I know the battle that returns when other voices have become silent. You measure what is owed, repeat a painful conversation, or imagine an outcome you cannot control. The mind keeps working because it hopes another calculation will create safety. Yet some burdens cannot be solved by thinking about them one more hour. This is where David's words matter. The battle belongs to the Lord. He did not say that responsibility belonged to no one. He stepped forward, chose what was in his hand, and acted with courage. But he refused to measure the enemy only against his own size, measured your difficulty against your private strength, and concluded that defeat is near. Measure it again with my presence included. The task may remain serious, the decision may still require care, and the result may not arrive quickly. Yet you are no longer calculating as though you stand alone. David carried a sling and stones, not the armor others considered necessary. What seemed modest became useful because it matched the action he could take faithfully. I am not asking you to imitate his weapon. I am teaching you not to despise the honest capacity already available to you. Your next step may be a truthful conversation, a request for qualified help, a firm boundary, or a day of needed rest. It may seem too small beside the size of the problem. Small does not mean useless. A responsible step can interrupt panic and return you to the ground beneath your feet. Do not turn the story into a promise that every conflict will end in one dramatic moment. The point is not spectacle. The point is ownership. You carry the duty I assign, and you release the outcome you cannot command. This keeps courage from becoming control. There are matters you have tried to hold for everyone. You believe love requires you to prevent every consequence, settle every disagreement, and keep every person near. That assignment did not come from me. You can love deeply without becoming responsible for another person's will. Give me what exceeds your authority. You may speak, offer repair, make a wise plan, and remain available to what is good. You may not force agreement, manufacture affection, or guarantee another person's decision. Release is not neglect when you have completed what truth requires. Psalm 27 calls me your light, salvation, and stronghold. A stronghold is not denial of danger. It is a secure place from which danger can be faced without ruling every thought. My light does not depend on your ability to maintain a perfect feeling. I remain steady when your emotions move. You have treated fear as though it were a reliable messenger simply because it speaks urgently. Fear often tells you that an unanswered question already has the worst answer. It turns possibility into certainty and calls that realism. I am teaching you to ask for facts before granting fear authority. When concern rises, pause. Name what you actually know, name what you are assuming, and name the action that truly belongs to today. If there is a medical concern, seek proper care. If there is a practical shortage, review the real numbers and ask sound counsel. Faith and responsible action do not compete. My pleasure in you is not based on pretending that these matters are easy. I am pleased by your willingness to return to truth after fear has carried you away. I am pleased when you admit that you need help. I am pleased when you stop using shame as a method of self-correction. Shame has told you that you should be stronger by now. It has compared your private struggle with another person's public composure. It is called every repeated concern proof that you learned nothing. That voice does not lead you toward honest change. It keeps you occupied with condemning yourself. You are still my beloved when a plan fails. You are still mine when you must apologize. Begin again, or accept a limit. The truth about your belonging does not rise and fall with one day's performance. Let that truth remove the need to hide. Some of your most sincere prayers have contained few words. You could only say that you needed me and could not carry the matter alone. I heard the surrender inside that sentence. Length does not make prayer honest, truth does. You may now feel the urge to take the burden back. The mind prefers familiar strain to unfamiliar trust, because strain creates the sensation of doing something. Do not confuse constant mental movement with useful action. After you have done what belongs to you, let stillness remain. I will not always explain the complete outcome in advance. Trust is not a contract requiring me to reveal every detail before you obey wisdom. I will give enough direction for the next faithful act. Ask for that, and do not demand the whole road tonight. Your difficulty does not define your name. You are not the debt, the conflict, the diagnosis, the silence, or the mistake. Those matters may require attention, but they do not possess your identity. You are the one I am addressing with care and truth. I want you to leave this section with less performance and more honesty. Stop trying to prove that you deserve my attention. You already have it. Stop interpreting fatigue as evidence that I moved away. Stand firmly within my strength today without becoming passive. Do the practical thing you can do. Refuse the false responsibility you cannot carry, and let my steadiness become larger in your mind than the voice of fear. Declare, Amen. I will carry my responsibility and give God the battle. Now I will place the key before you. It is not a secret phrase, a number, or a method for forcing a door. The key is my presence received in the middle of the circumstance you cannot command. You have searched for a technique because a technique feels easier to control than trust. You wanted instructions that would guarantee the exact outcome you preferred. You hoped that saying the right words with enough intensity would make uncertainty disappear. I am not giving you control dressed in sacred language. I am giving you myself. Moses met this truth during an ordinary day in the wilderness. He was tending a flock and carrying a history he could not revise. The bush burned without being consumed, and he chose to turn aside from the familiar course. Attention came before instruction. I called his name, and he answered from where he truly was. He did not arrive with the confidence of a finished leader. He had questions, objections, and a clear awareness of his limits. I did not reject him for speaking them. What I gave Moses first was my name. I am. My identity became the center of an assignment larger than his strength. He still had to return, speak, listen, and act. Yet he no longer entered the task as a man relying only on himself. This is the key I want you to receive. I am present before the answer becomes visible. I am present when you understand the path, and when you know only the next responsible action. My presence does not wait for your circumstances to become comfortable. You have asked me to be provider, defender, comforter, guide, and restorer. Do not reduce those names to a demand for one chosen result. Receive my character, then allow wisdom to direct how you respond. I may provide through work, counsel, restraint, generosity, or a changed plan. Likewise, you may need to address what you avoided. You may need to admit a mistake, ask a direct question, or begin a task that fear made larger in your thoughts. Take the step because truth requires it, not because you believe one action obligates me to produce your preferred ending. My presence is not payment for obedience. My grace is not a transaction. Obedience keeps you aligned with what is honest and gives your faith a practical form. It does not purchase my care, which was already given before your effort began. For years you have tried to pry certain doors apart. You repeated the same appeal, rearranged your approach, and blamed yourself when another person did not change. Your effort became desperation. You called it persistence because admitting your limit meant accepting defeat. There are also doors within you. One is the belief that you must perform well to remain loved. Another is the assumption that asking for help proves weakness. A third is the habit of condemning yourself before anyone else can speak. Receive my presence there. Let me challenge the rule that has governed you. You can be responsible without becoming harsh, humble without calling yourself worthless, and available without abandoning every boundary. The key opens truth, not fantasy. Proverbs 3 tells you to trust me with all your heart and not lean entirely on your own understanding. This does not command you to stop thinking. It reminds you that thought has limits. You can make a careful judgment while admitting that your knowledge is partial. You have leaned on understanding when you demanded to know why every event happened. You believed peace could begin only after each unanswered question received a satisfying explanation. Some explanations may come and others may not. My presence can be received without a complete account of the past. Trust also reaches your ordinary ways. Acknowledge me in work, household decisions, strained conversations, and moments when money or strength appears insufficient. Do not reserve trust for dramatic hours. Direction often becomes clear through quiet honesty practiced repeatedly. Ask whether the step before you agrees with truth, responsibility, compassion, and sound counsel. Ask whether urgency is pushing you beyond wisdom. Ask whether you are trying to serve love or merely escape discomfort. These questions help make the path straighter. Do not expect direction always to feel powerful. It may arrive as an apology, a refusal, a request for time, or an appointment you have delayed. It may ask you to remain where duty is clear, or to leave a pattern that keeps violating dignity. Direction is measured by truth, not excitement. The burning bush was unusual, but much of Moses' obedience afterward was demanding and repetitive. Do not imagine that receiving the key makes every day dramatic. My presence gives ordinary faithfulness meaning. You can carry it into work that no one praises. There is a part of you that has stopped expecting change because repeated disappointment eroded hope quietly. You call numbness maturity because numbness asks less from you. Mature faith is different. It can acknowledge risk while remaining available to what is genuinely good. I am not asking you to awaken exaggerated expectation. Do not assign dates, promise yourself a miracle, or turn every unusual event into a sign. Leave room for me to work without writing words I did not speak. Hope with a clear mind honors me. Receive the key by receiving my nearness now. You do not need to feel a physical sensation or produce an emotional response. Say the truth. I am here, and you are not alone. Then make the next decision with that truth included. When fear says you have only your own strength, answer with my presence. When shame says you cannot approach until you improve, answer with my grace. When control says nothing can begin until the entire road is known, answer with the next honest step. You may still tremble. Moses did not become fearless merely because I called his name. Courage is not the disappearance of every objection. It is bringing the objection into my presence and refusing to let it make the final choice. The door I open first may be the door out of isolation. You may tell a trusted person what you have hidden, receive professional counsel, or let those you love know what kind of help would be useful. Secrecy has made the burden heavier than truth requires. Receive me as I am, not as the servant of a narrow plan. I can guide, provide, correct, comfort, and strengthen in ways that respect truth. Let my character become the key you carry into every unopened place. Declare, I receive God's presence as the key, and I will follow honest direction. My child, you have often dismissed what remains because it appears too small beside what is needed. You count your strength, time, resources, and faith, then compare them with the size of the demand. The comparison leaves you ashamed before you have even begun. I do not ask you to pretend that little is much. I ask you to place what is real in my hands. The account of the loaves and fish begins with an honest shortage. A great crowd was hungry, and the available food could not meet the need through ordinary division. No one improved the situation by denying the numbers. A modest meal was brought forward. It was not mocked for being insufficient, and it was not hidden because it could not solve everything alone. Jesus received it, gave thanks, and distributed it. Willingness placed the small provision where divine abundance could use it. Take the principle carefully. This passage is not a promise that every material shortage will disappear through one dramatic event. It does not tell you to ignore a budget, avoid counsel, or give what belongs to a necessary duty. Faith remains honest about limits. The message is that insufficiency does not make obedience meaningless. You may have only enough strength for one conversation, one application, 1 hour of focused work, or one clear refusal. Bring that capacity without contempt. Let one truthful act be one truthful act. You have delayed beginning because you could not finish the whole task at once. The unfinished amount intimidated you. Then another day passed and shame grew around work that still waited. Break the false demand for total completion and choose the part you can responsibly carry now. This also applies to faith itself. You think I require a fearless heart before I respond. Yet honest trust may arrive beside doubt. You can say that you believe and still admit where uncertainty remains. Do not make doubt your identity. It is a question, not a name. Bring the question into my presence rather than using it as proof that you cannot approach. I can guide you while your understanding remains incomplete. Gratitude has a place here. Jesus gave thanks before the distribution was visible, but gratitude did not falsify the shortage. Mature gratitude recognizes what is available without pretending that every need has been answered. It keeps scarcity from becoming the only fact you can hear. Name what you still possess. There may be skill, time, a trustworthy relationship, experience, or access to wise counsel. There may be an ability you stopped using because life narrowed around urgent duties. Do not call these things worthless because they cannot repair everything. The boy did not become responsible for feeding the crowd by his own power. He released what he had and allowed Jesus to carry the impossible scale. This distinction matters for you. Your offering is obedience, not control over multiplication. You have tried to make results prove your faith. When an outcome was slow or different, you accused yourself of not believing enough. Stop turning uncertainty into a trial against your worth. My care is not measured by the speed of one result. The act of giving must also remain clean. You cannot purchase grace, healing, reconciliation, or favor. No offering places me in debt to you. What you place before me must come from willing trust, never pressure, fear, or a promise that money guarantees a miracle. My child, I am asking you to place a portion of what you have, something of real weight, upon the altar of this work, as gold laid on the scales of this calling. Let it be a seed sown into deep water, an offering set on stone, not held back in fear. This is proof that your trust rests in my hand to provide, and that your heart no longer clings to lack. What you release in faith does not leave your life. It moves ahead of you, into the harvest I am preparing. Continue now with your attention on truth rather than transaction. My love has not increased because you offered something, and it does not decrease if your honest means require restraint. Generosity must live beside responsibility. I never ask you to neglect those entrusted to your care in order to prove devotion. Consider other forms of offering. You may give time to someone who needs to be heard, patience during a difficult conversation, or practical help without seeking praise. You may offer an apology that costs pride. These acts carry real weight because they move love from intention into conduct. You can also offer restraint. Refuse to repeat what was told in confidence. Refuse to answer cruelty with cruelty, and refuse to use another person's weakness to gain power. What you withhold from harm can serve my purpose. Offer the plan you have been gripping. This does not mean abandoning preparation. It means allowing facts, counsel, and changed circumstances to correct your design. A plan becomes an idol when you would rather damage truth than revise it. Offer the need to be recognized. Some worthy work remains unseen by people. If you require applause before continuing, resentment will soon govern your service. Let integrity be enough when attention does not come. I am pleased with the real thing you bring, not an exaggerated promise you cannot sustain. Do not vow endless effort during one emotional hour. Choose a faithful measure you can continue when the emotion settles. Steady care often serves more than a sudden display. The loaves passed through hands. Distribution required order, movement, and participation. Do not call practical organization unspiritual. Make the list, arrange the help, keep the appointment, and handle what is available with care. If provision arrives through another person, receive without shame. You have sometimes preferred private distress to admitting need. Pride can disguise itself as independence. Allow trusted people to serve you as you would serve them. Receiving creates responsibility too. Use what comes for the purpose it was given. Do not turn temporary relief into careless excess. Gratitude becomes visible through wise stewardship. There may be no multiplication in the form you imagined. The task may become manageable because the plan changes, the burden is shared, or one unnecessary demand is removed. Do not overlook a sound solution because it lacks drama. Provision can be quiet and practical. Bring me what is in your hand today. Name it accurately, without boasting or contempt. Ask what faithful use requires, then act within your true capacity. You are not the source of the final abundance. You are the steward of what has been entrusted now. Let that truth release you from both pride and despair. Now consider the place where no easy route appears. You know what it is to feel pressed between an obstacle ahead and consequences behind. The mind scans every direction and finds no acceptable escape. Then fear begins to speak as though difficulty and finality are the same. Israel stood with the sea before them and Pharaoh's army approaching from behind. Their panic did not prove that I had abandoned them. It proved that the danger was real and their understanding was limited. My presence remained even while the route was hidden. Do not use this account to predict that every obstacle will divide in a spectacular way. I may change the circumstance, show another route, send practical help, or give strength to endure what cannot yet be removed. The principle is that a hidden route is not the same as no route. Moses still had to listen and act. The people had to move when direction came. Faith was not pretending the army did not exist. It was refusing to let the army determine the limits of my power. You may be standing before a conversation you have delayed. You want certainty that it will go well before you begin. No such certainty can be promised. You can prepare your words, choose a suitable time, and enter with truth without controlling the response. You may be facing a practical decision. Gather the information that exists instead of demanding a feeling to replace facts. Review the risks, ask informed counsel, and decide according to responsibility. Direction often becomes clearer after careful work removes imagined complications. Do not call every impulse a command to move. The Red Sea account does not sanctify reckless action. If the step violates wisdom, harms those entrusted to you, or depends on secrecy and pressure, it does not become faithful because it feels urgent. My direction can withstand examination. There are times when movement means stopping. You have continued an unhealthy pattern because leaving it felt frightening. You called endurance obedience, though the pattern repeatedly damaged dignity and resisted every honest repair. A different step may be needed. Seek safety when there is abuse, threat, or coercion. Do not remain exposed because someone used sacred words to demand silence. My presence does not command you to protect harmful conduct from consequence. Truth must be allowed to name what is happening. After the sea came the wilderness, where ordinary needs still required attention. One great deliverance did not remove every future decision. Do not build faith on the expectation that one answer ends all human difficulty. I remain after the dramatic moment, within daily bread and repeated guidance. Jericho offers another picture. The wall did not respond on the first circuit. The people followed an unusual instruction, and for several days the structure appeared unchanged. Their obedience was not proved by immediate evidence. Yet do not turn 7 days into a timetable for your private request. Scripture records what I commanded them in that event. It does not authorize anyone to assign a deadline to your healing, finances, or relationships. Faithfulness should not be manipulated by invented dates. The useful lesson is endurance without constant self-sabotage. You abandon worthy action when the first effort produces no visible result. You assume silence means failure and begin changing direction before the process has had time to reveal anything. Some responsible work must be repeated. Keep the appointment. Continue the honest practice. Follow the treatment that qualified care has advised, and maintain the boundary you stated. Repetition is not empty when each act serves a sound purpose. At the same time, do not march around a wall I never told you to circle. Habit can continue after wisdom has changed. Review whether the action remains useful, whether facts have shifted, and whether counsel reveals another course. Endurance and stubbornness are not the same. Joshua was told to be strong and courageous because I was with him wherever he went. Courage was rooted in presence, not in the weakness of the wall. The wall could remain formidable while the command remained true. You do not need to minimize the obstacle to strengthen your heart. I am with you in the formal meeting, the difficult room, the quiet house, and the place where an answer is still being considered. My presence does not guarantee that every person will agree with you. It guarantees that disagreement cannot remove you from me. Your strength may take the form of refusing to retaliate. It may be the courage to submit evidence, admit what you do not know, or accept a lawful outcome while pursuing every proper remedy. Strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is disciplined speech under pressure. Silence also needs discernment. At Jericho, silence was commanded for a specific purpose and time. In your life, silence may protect reflection, or it may hide fear. Ask whether silence is serving wisdom or avoiding the truth that must be spoken. When it is time to speak, do so without using volume as proof. State the concern, the need, and the boundary. Leave accusation and exaggeration behind. Clear words can carry more authority than repeated emotional force. When it is time to remain quiet, stop rehearsing imaginary arguments. Quiet the inward trial in which you answer statements no one has made. Let the body rest from defending itself against events that have not occurred. This is a form of courage, too. Your wall may be long-standing debt, an unresolved conflict, a task that has become intimidating, or a habit that resists change. Name it accurately. Vague dread makes the wall appear larger. Specific facts reveal where responsible effort can begin. Break the matter into what is controllable, influenceable, and outside your authority. Act on the first. Speak honestly into the second, and release the third to me. This simple distinction can create a route through confusion. You do not have to feel brave before moving responsibly. Courage often follows the first clean action. Once you ask the question, arrange the counsel, or state the limit, the mind no longer has to carry every possible version of the moment. If the result differs from your hope, do not call obedience wasted. Truthful action protects integrity even when it cannot control another person or system. You will have clearer facts for the next decision. Clarity is itself a form of provision. If a door opens, enter without boasting. You did not become more worthy because the obstacle moved. Receive help with gratitude. Remember those still facing their own walls, and use your freedom responsibly. My presence is the key. No route is easy, yet none is faced without me. My child, the key of my presence also changes how you recognize help. You expected care to arrive through a particular person, apology, or outcome. When it did not come that way, you concluded that I had passed you by. Expectation narrowed your hearing until unfamiliar kindness became difficult to receive. The man on the road to Jericho knew what it was to be left in need. People whose roles suggested compassion continued past him. Then a Samaritan stopped, crossed social hostility, tended the injuries, arranged shelter, and accepted practical cost. Love became visible through what he did. Keep the lesson grounded. Do not decide that every stranger has been sent by me or that caution no longer matters. Receive care through conduct that is safe, respectful, and honest. Gratitude does not require you to surrender discernment. Help may come from someone outside the circle you expected. A knowledgeable advisor may explain what friends could not. A quiet neighbor may offer practical assistance. A person with no impressive position may listen more carefully than those who speak often about compassion. Do not reject useful help because pride wanted a private solution. You have believed that receiving creates a debt you cannot bear. Healthy help can honor your dignity without demanding control. Ask what is offered, what is expected, and whether the arrangement remains clear. You are also called to become a neighbor. Love God with your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. The command joins devotion with conduct. What you claim to believe must reach the person whose need interrupts your preferred plan. Compassion notices before it promises. Listen long enough to understand what would actually help. Do not assume every wounded person needs your advice, money, or personal involvement. Sometimes the most loving response is to connect them with care you are not qualified to provide. The Samaritan did not become the injured man's entire future. He addressed the immediate need, placed him in responsible care, and continued his journey with a promise to settle proper cost. This is compassionate structure. Love can be generous without becoming endless rescue. You need this wisdom with those you love. Their distress can awaken your need to solve everything immediately. You take over decisions, speak for them, and carry consequences that belong to their choices. Then, exhaustion and resentment enter what began as concern. Ask what support is wanted and what responsibility remains theirs. Offer what you can sustain without deception. A limited yes spoken freely is more loving than an unlimited yes followed by bitterness. Boundaries give generosity an honest shape. Love yourself does not mean placing every desire first. It means refusing the belief that your needs, safety, rest, and dignity have no value. You cannot practice healthy neighborly love while treating yourself as a tool that others may use without limit. I do not call self-erasure holiness. This becomes especially important in reconciliation. You may be carrying the name of someone who became distant. You want my key to open the relationship at once. My presence can guide your part, but it does not cancel the other person's will. Begin with what truth allows. If you owe an apology, make it without defending yourself. If a conversation is safe and appropriate, request it without pressure. If the other person refuses, respect the answer while leaving room for future truth. Do not send repeated appeals and call them faith. Do not recruit others to pressure someone who asked for space. Reconciliation requires mutual willingness, honest change, and enough safety for both people to speak. One person's longing cannot supply all three. Forgiveness is not the same as restored access. You can release the desire for revenge while retaining a boundary. You can stop feeding hatred without returning to a pattern that remains harmful. Wisdom and mercy can occupy the same heart. If reconciliation becomes possible, do not rush over the cause of separation. Ask what happened, what has changed, and what conduct will prevent the same injury from repeating. Tender words may begin repair, but steady action must carry it forward. You may need to hear what you did not expect. The other person's memory may differ from yours. Listen without assuming that every difference is an accusation. Take responsibility for what is true and refuse responsibility for what is not. Repair often proceeds through modest acts. A brief, honest exchange may come before deeper conversation. Respecting one boundary may matter more than a long promise. Let trust grow according to evidence rather than the speed of desire. There are situations where no reconciliation is available now. Do not place your life in permanent suspension. Continue to pray without attempting to manage the unseen work of another heart. Care from a distance can remain real. You also need compassion for the part of you that became guarded. Betrayal taught you to search every sentence for hidden danger. Abandonment taught you to become useful enough that no one could leave. Those responses once felt protective, but they now require examination. When a trustworthy person offers care, allow their present conduct to speak. Do not make them repay another person's debt. Use what you learn to establish wise limits, then judge the relationship by its own pattern. Memory may advise without presiding over every verdict. If concern appears, ask before assuming. If a promise is broken, address the fact without turning it into a claim about your worth. Notice whether the person can acknowledge harm, repair what is possible, and choose differently next time. Character becomes clear in response to correction. I may answer your need through a person you would not have selected. Do not worship the helper or demand that they remain forever. Receive the good they can honestly give. Let gratitude return to me without turning a human being into your source. Become willing to stop for another person without proving yourself indispensable. Offer presence, practical care, and respect. Then allow the larger outcome to remain beyond your control. My love moves toward the wounded without exploiting weakness. Let your conduct carry the same cleanness. Never use generosity to purchase loyalty, access, admiration, or silence. You will know compassion is becoming mature when it can hear no without retaliation. It can adjust when new information appears. It can serve without keeping a hidden account of what must be returned. The door of reconciliation may open, remain closed, or take another form. My presence stays with you in each truth. You can be tender without becoming unguarded and firm without becoming cruel. Declare, Amen. I will receive and offer compassion with wisdom, truth, and boundaries. My child, the attack against hope is often gradual. One disappointment does not always silence you, but repeated discouragement can reduce expectation little by little. Eventually, you stop asking whether good change is possible. You call the numbness realism because that name feels safer than admitting how discouraged you became. I am not asking you to replace numbness with fantasy. I am asking you to notice where the future has been judged before it arrives. You have treated delay as a verdict, another person's progress as evidence against you, and one closed door as the conclusion of the whole house. These judgments exceed the facts. Comparison deepens the erosion. You hear the result of another person's story without hearing every ordinary decision behind it. Their visible gain becomes the measure of your private difficulty. Then shame tells you that everyone else understood life except you. Return to your own assignment. Another person's timing does not establish your value. Their opportunity neither removes yours, nor guarantees that the same opportunity would be good for you. Faithfulness is measured within the truth of what has been entrusted to your hands. You may believe that too much time has passed. The life of Moses warns against calling an ordinary season a final identity. His wilderness years were real, but they were not the only truth about him. I could call him within the life he was actually living. Do not turn that into the cliché that every hard year was secretly designed as training. Some events came through human choices, loss, injustice, or ordinary limitation. You do not need to call harm good before believing that purpose remains possible. I can guide you from reality without rewriting evil as kindness. The unfinished middle is difficult because it offers no clean conclusion. A medical concern may still be under qualified review. A relationship may remain uncertain, or lawful proceedings may move slowly. You want a final answer because the mind believes certainty will end fear. While facts remain incomplete, Do not invent a miracle or a disaster. Attend appointments, keep records, ask questions, and follow sound advice. Prayer does not replace the responsible process. My presence accompanies you through it. Peace can arrive before resolution without becoming proof of a particular outcome. It may simply mean that fear is no longer making every decision. Receive that peace for what it is. Do not force it to predict what no one yet knows. 2 Corinthians speaks of a new creation in Christ. This renewal is not a claim that every external consequence vanishes in one moment. It declares that your former patterns and accusations no longer have the right to define who you must remain. A renewed life can begin inside an unfinished situation. The old name may have been abandoned. You expected people to leave, so you hid need and tested loyalty. The new response tells the truth, accepts that another person is free, and refuses to purchase closeness with self-betrayal. The old name may have been defeated. You assumed a failed attempt proved a permanent inability. The new response studies what happened, corrects what can be corrected, and chooses whether another responsible attempt is wise. Identity no longer hangs on one result. The old name may have been not enough. You measured worth by constant output and could not rest without guilt. The new response receives limits as part of honest stewardship. You remain worthy of care when your capacity is smaller than demand. Do not let anyone call you by an old accusation to keep power over you. If you changed, let present conduct demonstrate it. You do not need to deny former wrongdoing. Accountability and renewed identity can stand together. You are not renewed by declaring that consequences disappeared. You are renewed when truth governs how you meet them. You can repair damage, accept a lawful result, and still refuse the sentence that says you can never live differently. Repentance moves forward. Hope also moves forward without demanding a guarantee. It allows you to apply, ask, learn, rest, and build while admitting risk. It does not call every possibility a promise. It simply stops rejecting all possibilities from habit. There may be a task you abandoned because you could not complete it perfectly. Return to one useful part. There may be a relationship that deserves a measured conversation. Ask without scripting the other person's answer. There may be a relationship that must remain closed. Hope does not require opening it. A better future may begin with maintaining the boundary that finally ended repeated harm. Newness can include a clean refusal. You have mistaken emotional intensity for spiritual certainty. A powerful feeling can still be wrong, and a quiet decision can be deeply faithful. Test what you hear by truth, wisdom, responsibility, and the character I have revealed. Do not let urgency bypass judgment. The enemy's lie often arrives in your own familiar tone. It says that nothing will change, you are uniquely overlooked, or your faith is embarrassing. Expose the claim by asking what evidence supports it. A repeated thought does not become true through repetition. This is where my pleasure in you returns to the message. I am pleased when you refuse to perform certainty and instead practice honesty. I am pleased when you choose one sound act after discouragement. I am pleased when you receive correction without turning it into self-hatred. I am not pleased by your suffering itself. I do not romanticize what harmed you. I am pleased by truth, courage, mercy, and the willingness to remain teachable. Keep those distinctions clear, so pain never becomes proof that you earned future goodness. Goodness is grace, not wages for endurance. You may receive it after a hard season, during one or through ordinary days that carry no grand reversal. Do not build a bargain with me. Walk with me because I am trustworthy. When no news comes tomorrow, continue living. Care for your body, do the work before you, and hear those you love. Let one unanswered matter remain one matter rather than the definition of every hour. When good news comes, receive it without fear that gratitude will make you vulnerable. Thank me. Review what responsibility follows, and resist the urge to make one answer promise that all trouble has ended. Joy can remain sober. The key is still my presence. Renewed identity is the life you live from that presence. You are no longer required to obey the old names merely because their voices are familiar. Let hope return as openness to truth. No hype or deadline, no certainty, and no rejection of what can become good. My child, bring the entire matter into my presence now. Bring the battle, the closed door, the small provision, the wounded relationship, and the wall that has not moved. Do not arrange these things into a performance. I already know their true weight. I bless your mind with disciplined peace. When fear speaks urgently, pause before believing it. Ask what is known, what is assumed, and what wise action belongs to the present. This pause is not weakness, it is recovered authority. I bless your prayer with honesty. You do not need polished speech, forced confidence, or repeated phrases designed to make me respond. Tell me what you desire and what you fear. Trust does not require pretending that only one emotion exists. I bless your courage before the obstacle. Do not make the wall smaller in your description. Name it accurately, then remember that its size does not determine whether I am present. Courage can face the full fact without surrendering to it. I bless your next step. It may be quiet and practical. A request for help, an honest apology, a completed application, a firm refusal or needed rest can carry more truth than an emotional promise you cannot maintain. I bless your patience with process. Do not assign a sacred deadline where I gave none. Continue what remains sound, review what may need adjustment, and stop what has become compulsion. Endurance must stay teachable. I bless the small thing in your hand. Do not insult it because it cannot meet the entire need alone. Use it responsibly. Share the burden where appropriate, and allow help to reach you. Your part does not have to become the whole answer. I bless your generosity with clean motives. Grace cannot be bought, and my love does not move according to the amount you release. Give freely, wisely, and without neglecting a true responsibility. Let service remain free of hidden demands. I bless your compassion. Notice the person whose need is real, and ask what help is suitable before taking control. Offer presence, practical care, or connection to qualified support. You are a neighbor, not another person's savior. I bless your boundaries in reconciliation. Make the apology you owe and the request that is appropriate. Do not pursue, pressure, or manipulate someone into reopening a relationship. Mutual repair needs willing hearts and demonstrated change. I bless your forgiveness with wisdom. Release revenge without calling harmful conduct safe. You may remain distant where access would restore an unchanged pattern. Mercy does not require you to abandon judgment. I bless your renewed identity. You are not required to answer every old accusation. Admit what was true, repair what can be repaired, and live differently now. Former conduct may explain a consequence without dictating your permanent name. I bless the part of you that feared my disappointment. Hear me again. I am pleased by honesty, humility, courage, mercy, and your return to truth. I do not require emotional perfection. I do not celebrate your suffering as though harm made you worthy. Let Psalm 27 speak without exaggeration. I am your light and stronghold. This means fear does not have to govern you, not that every difficulty disappears before morning. Stand within my steadiness as facts develop. Let David's confession remain simple. The battle belongs to me. Take the action available to you, as he used what was honestly in his hand. Do not borrow another person's armor, or imitate a path that does not fit your responsibility. Let Moses remind you what the key is. My name and presence enter the place where your own strength ends. I am remains true whether the road becomes clear in 1 hour or through several careful decisions. Receive me before demanding the map. Let the sea remind you that a route may exist beyond current understanding. Let Jericho remind you that repeated obedience does not need immediate applause. Yet never use either story to invent a date, guarantee an outcome, or sanctify reckless movement. Let the loaves remind you to bring what is real. Little can be stewarded, while nothing changes when shame keeps it hidden. Give thanks for what exists, acknowledge what is absent, and allow practical order to serve faith. Let the Samaritan remind you that love stops and acts. It also uses structure, cost, and responsible care. Compassion does not merely feel deeply, it seeks the actual good of the person before it. Let Proverbs 3 correct your demand for complete understanding. Think carefully without treating your understanding as complete. Acknowledge me in ordinary decisions, and allow the path to become straight through truth rather than force. Let the promise of new creation release you from the old names. You are not abandoned, useless, permanently defeated, or beyond correction. You can live from grace while accepting responsibility for today. Newness becomes visible through a new response. Do not leave this message searching for a sensation. You have received the key when you include my presence in the next honest choice. You have received it when you stop clawing at what only control could open and begin attending to what wisdom actually asks. There may be no announcement when the inward change begins. You may simply notice that fear speaks, and you no longer answer immediately. You may rest before solving, ask before assuming, or refuse before resentment. These are substantial changes. When the answer you desire comes, receive it with gratitude and responsibility. Do not claim that one good result proves every future result. Let joy be honest and present without asking it to become a guarantee. When the answer differs from your desire, bring the disappointment to me without turning it into abandonment. Learn what is true, grieve what actually ended, and leave the rest of your future open. One result cannot name the whole life. Stay close to those who speak wisely and act with integrity. Isolation magnifies private conclusions. Trusted counsel can reveal where fear, pride, or urgency has distorted your judgment. Keep your daily life in order while the larger matter remains unresolved. Eat, rest, work, pray, and attend to those you love. One unanswered question does not deserve every room in your mind. I am with you in the unfinished middle. I do not need to invent a dramatic promise to make my presence valuable. My character is enough to support the next faithful day. The key is not striving. It is not a formula, a deadline, or the denial of facts. The key is my presence received with trust and expressed through honest action. Carry this truth without noise. The battle is mine. The next responsible step is yours, and you do not take it alone. Declare your amen if you receive God's presence as the key and will walk in truth.
We run on viewer support only. For exclusive member-only content, scan the QR or see the pinned comment. God bless you.